The Sacramento Kings wrap up their 7-game homestand with a dominant offensive performance against the Portland Trail Blazers as Malik Monk makes a pair of returns. One, back from missing 3 games with an illness, and 2, back to his 6th man role off the bench. We'll discuss that, Zach LaVine's big night, DeMar DeRozan, the distributor, and more right here on Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all season long. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off of your first purchase. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter for ABC 10 News. And sorry that this episode is getting out a little bit later than usual. I had some technical difficulties at the Golden One Center, so I had to run home to record this podcast tonight. But yes, I was there inside the Golden One Center, where I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit sick of that building. And I think the Sacramento Kings players probably feel the same way. Of course, there's nothing better than on your home floor in front of your home crowd and sleeping in your own bed, but 7 home games over the last week and a half, less than 2 weeks. It's been a lot of home cooking. So I think the Sacramento Kings are probably maybe a little teensy bit excited to head out onto the road for one final road trip, a 6-game road trip before they return home for 3 more home games to end the season. We'll get into all of that towards the end of the podcast. This game got off to a really weird start, but it was before any basketball was played. Typically, like it is league policy, league mandate that head coaches submit their starting lineup to the table and to the league. I think it's around 30 minutes before game time. Once that lineup is submitted, that is the lineup. Changes cannot be made from that point. It's to discourage any unfair advantages or anything like that. If there's a game time decision because of an injury, like that decision pretty much has to be made up until that 30-minute mark. And the Kings lineup was reported by the scorers table as having Malik Monk as the starting point guard. Not a surprise to any of us. Malik Monk returning after missing 3 games with a illness that has been bouncing around the Sacramento Kings. He seemed to have caught the worst case of it. It kept him out for a little while. But Malik Monk returns. Malik Monk has only ever started in the Doug Christie era here as the interim head coach of the Sacramento Kings, right? So nobody thought one way or another about it. It's like, yep, Malik Monk's back. Malik Monk's back in the starting lineup. Okay. Keon Ellis back to the bench. Sounds good. Scott Moak, amazing Kings PA announcer. You hear his voice on the intro of the Locked On Kings podcast. Scott does the starting lineups, and he introduces Malik Monk. And it's interesting because I'm paying attention to the starting lineups, right? They have Malik's picture up on the Jumbotron as usual, and I'm looking and I'm seeing Keon Ellis run down and high-fiving people. I'm thinking, okay, maybe they just went out of order and Keon's going at the end just to dap everybody up before they huddle together and whatever. We get to just before jump ball, right? Where all the players start heading out onto the court, and I'm looking for Malik. Where's Malik? He's at the corner of the bench still in his sweats, and he's dapping up the bench players. And I look over and wait a minute, there's Keon Ellis that's on the court getting ready to get going. Well, I guess there was a mistake. In fact, we asked Doug Christie about it after the game, and Doug said, yeah, it was just a little mix-up with the scorers table. His plan all along was to start Keon Ellis and have Malik Monk come off the bench. So once we got over that confusion, it really set in for me like, wow, Doug did it. Doug did what I think, and I know I'm not alone in this, a lot of us thought should happen. At least for one night, Malik Monk went back to his 6-man role, where we've seen how unbelievably effective he is coming off the bench over the last 2 seasons. And he kept Keon Ellis, who of course has that fantastic defensive impact for the Kings, kept him in the starting lineup. Now, one thing I want to preface before talking about this, even though I do feel this is absolutely the right decision, I do not feel like Malik Monk is a bad starter or ineffective as a starter. He was a really, really, really good starter when he was next to De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron took over De'Aaron owned the primary point guard responsibilities. Not that De'Aaron was ever a floor general or a playmaker necessarily. I mean, he made plays, but he was not like he's not a traditional point guard. Neither is Malik Monk. And when we saw Malik and De'Aaron on the floor at the same times, oftentimes it was Malik that ran more of the 2-man game with DeRozan and Sabonis. It was Malik that did more of the distribution, had more of the assists. But he seemed to work really well next to Fox, a primary guard that had so much defensive attention on him that Malik could do his thing. Once De'Aaron was traded, Malik stepped into that starting point guard, primary facilitator role, and we could see it hasn't been a fit for him. It's just not his natural role. He is capable of being a playmaker, but it's not his primary responsibility. And he's effective as a scorer, but he's not a go-to scorer to the level that De'Aaron Fox was. So it's not that Malik Monk can't be a starting caliber player or isn't a starting caliber player. It's the responsibilities that Malik Monk had as the starting point guard, I just don't think and feel fit who he is as a player. Now, to be clear, I don't think Keon Ellis fits that perfectly either. Keon Ellis is also not a traditional point guard. Keon Ellis is not even the playmaker or distributor that Malik Monk is. Not even close, in my opinion. But what Keon provides that Malik doesn't is defense. And while Malik is a better overall player than Keon Ellis is, in my opinion, there's already an abundance of scoring and offense in that starting lineup. It lacks the defensive presence that Keon Ellis brings as part of that starting unit. So Doug Christie makes this move and gets rewarded for it, right? Malik Monk returns to his 6-man role, first game back after missing the last 3, only played 17 minutes. And Doug said after the game, like, I got to find more minutes for Malik than just 17 minutes. So at least he admitted that. But Malik, 16 points, super efficient, 6 of 9 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3-point range, 3 rebounds, a couple of assists, like, did turn the ball over 3 times, and Doug kind of gave him tongue-in-cheek crap for that after the game too. But Malik played well. When he comes into the game, he adds a spark, right? The pace was really, really good when Malik Monk was on the floor. Now, the offense, period, was good in this game. We'll break down just the amazing offensive night that the Kings as a team had. We'll get into that a little bit later on when we start talking about the other performances like Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan and DeMontis Sabonis. But I don't think it's a coincidence that Malik returns to the 6-man role, and it just looked, and I don't know about you, to me, it felt more natural. It felt more familiar. And Doug also said after the game, like, just because you're a starter not a starter doesn't mean you're not a closer. Malik Monk is a closer. So even though Keon Ellis is in the starting lineup over Malik Monk, the expectation still would be that if it's a close game, Malik will be the guy on the floor. Maybe instead of Keon, maybe with Keon. We don't know. That's still to be determined. Keon Ellis in this game was incredible. I mean, 6 steals, a career high 6 steals, 10 points, 6 steals, 3 rebounds, a pair of assists, also blocked a shot. Like, okay, yes, great. You don't need a bunch of scoring at a Keon Ellis, especially on a night like tonight where everybody was getting theirs. Everybody else was scoring. Like this, that's what Keon Ellis adds to the starting lineup. He comes in, he plays defense, he's annoying to ball handlers. Zach LaVine said like his instincts and anticipation for the ball is like elite. He's never seen it before. When he experienced it for the first time playing against Keon, when LaVine was part of the Bulls, like he was blown away by how good Keon is defensively and how good his instincts are, right? That's natural to Keon's game. That's what he brings and provides this starting unit. And I just think it works. Not that Keon is the secret to unlocking all of a sudden this success for the Sacramento Kings. And not to say that the things weren't working because Malik Monk was the starter. That's not the case at all. I just think the fits and the lineup are better. Now, what I do want to see, and Doug wouldn't fully commit to this after the game. He wouldn't fully commit to this is what my starting lineup is going to be. It's going to be Keon with Malik coming off the bench. He did not commit to that after the game. But I would like to see this again. I would like to see this for the remainder of the season, the final 9 games of the season. And I would like to see this against a better team. Because while I'm not taking anything away from the Sacramento Kings to get this win that they needed to get, the 128-107, I mean, they dominated, right? They dominated Portland. This game was never in question. Kings were in control from start to finish. You love to see it. They handled their business again against a bad team that they should be beating. You love to see it, and they needed it because had they lost tonight after the Dallas Mavericks won, they would have dropped down to 10th. So this was a good game for them to get. But Portland is not the quality of team that you necessarily want to make full decisions off of as your sample size, right? So how will this look against Orlando? How will this look against Indiana? How will this look during this road trip? I'm anxious to see that. But I do think this is also encouraging for the future because I expect Malik Monk and Keon Ellis to be a part of the Sacramento Kings future. I did an episode earlier this week where I shared with you the list of players that I would keep and move forward with as part of this Kings team going past what I'm expecting to be very active summer for the Sacramento Kings. Malik and Keon are both on it. But to me, Keon, unless the Kings find better defensive guard options, Keon Ellis, I think, should be a starter for the Kings going forward. And Malik Monk, we know how great he is in that 6-man role. So I think whether that was Doug acknowledging that or not, I think this was the right decision by Doug Christie. I think Doug deserves a crap ton of credit because it's not an easy decision to make. And before the game, before we knew that this was going to be the decision, I asked Doug about like all the changes that Malik has gone through this season. Again, not knowing that this was going to be the decision for tonight. I mean, he went from being a bench guy in the 6-man role to starting next to Fox, to then taking over the primary point guard responsibilities after the Fox trade, now coming back off the bench. And the one thing that Doug said, he said a lot of great things about Malik, but the main thing that he said that stuck out to me was he said, like, Malik's telling me whatever you need me to do, I will do. And Doug appreciates that. So it seems like Malik lived up to his word because Doug told him, I need you coming off the bench. Malik said, okay. Didn't pout, didn't throw a fit, went in, played really, really well. And I'm hoping that can continue for the remainder of this season. But he wasn't alone. The Sacramento Kings as a team played extremely well, especially offensively in this game. We'll run through some of the bonkers offensive numbers individually and as a team. That's all coming up here on the Locked On Kings podcast after I tell you more about our title sponsor of the show, Game Time. There's nothing like watching basketball live. The energy of the crowd, especially in the Golden One Center, the sound of sneakers on the hardwood, and maybe even a celebrity signing courtside. You never know who's going to show up at Kings games. We had the A's were at a game earlier this week. Ruthie Bolton, Monarchs legend, was in the building tonight for tonight's game. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. Game Time's new feature, Game Time Picks, filters out all of the fluff, and it shows you only the best deals on great seats. So you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. It makes ticket shopping easy. Whatever the event is, you will find great tickets for it. You'll find super deals too, right? Like I'm expecting A's tickets, or I was expecting A's tickets here in Sacramento to be ridiculous. And I was looking at tickets for the opening series between the A's and the Cubs, a historic series here in Sacramento. I found unbelievably priced tickets on Game Time for Game 2 against the Cubs. Just $60, way less than what I was expecting on Game Time. Plus, you have the peace of mind, seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and the lowest price guarantee. And you can book with total confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. It was just one of those nights for the Sacramento Kings. Of course, it helps that it's against a team like the Portland Trail Blazers, but it was one of those nights where everything the Sacramento Kings were putting up went in. And what I really like, I know Doug Christie has his 3-point mandate. He wants this team to shoot. He says 50 threes. I think the sweet spot is like 40 to 45 threes. The Kings only shot 27 threes as a team tonight. So that's well short of kind of the Doug Christie 3-point mandate. But it's because Sacramento dominated the paint, right? As a team, This is absurd. As a team, the Kings shot 64%, really 65%, 64.9%, like 48 of 74 from the field. That efficiency is absurd. In the paint, the Kings dominated the Trailblazers 60-32. 60 points in the paint. They converted 30 out of 35 attempts in the paint. Like, that is complete and utter domination. Yes, I know the three-point shot is worth more. It's also a harder shot. It's further away from the basket. If you can have open season in the paint, scoring around the rim like the Kings did against the Blazers tonight, yeah, I wouldn't take threes either. Score in abundance. I mean, you scored 128 points and only made 10 3-pointers. It's because you were dominating in the paint in this game. The Kings also did a fantastic job getting out in transition, 24 fast break points. They converted 10 of 11 fast break opportunities. Just a super efficient game. Also 15 second chance points. They converted 6 of 8 second chance opportunities. I mean, bonkers team numbers. Then you get into the individual, right? This was one of those uber efficient Zach LaVine games that he's been having throughout this season. The majority of them with the Chicago Bulls, but he's had a handful of them here in his short time with Sacramento. This was a very efficient game for Zach. Now, he missed his final 2 shots, so this makes this number a little bit less impressive than it should have been, but still, 13 of 18 from the field is super impressive. And what I love, now, again, this number is under the 10 3-point attempt quota that Doug has for LaVine. LaVine only took 5 threes. LaVine scored 29 points to lead all scorers in this game with only 2 made 3-pointers, right? When he was scoring 30 points or around 30 points or even over 30 points earlier on in his tenure with the Kings, when he won the Western Conference Player of the Week award, it was because he was shooting like 62 or something percent from 3-point range, right? He was just on an absolute heater from 3-point range. Well, obviously, it's easier to score more points from 3 when you're knocking down shots. But this was Zach LaVine in attack mode. This was Zach LaVine from the jump, getting downhill, getting to the rim, finishing around the rim, battling through contact, playing really, really scrappy. It was just a very solid, needed Zach LaVine performance. Needed, right? We needed to see it. And we've been trying to figure out, we've been perplexed by it for a lot of this homestand. It's not that just that Zach wasn't playing well. He just didn't look like himself. He wasn't shooting the basketball. We couldn't figure out why. But here's Zach LaVine not just chucking threes. This is Zach LaVine getting downhill, using his athleticism and attacking a weakness of the Portland Trailblazers. Their interior defense, obviously bad, and Zach looked to exploit it right away. To be fair, it was actually Keegan Murray that got the ball rolling for the Kings. Keegan had 17 points. He scored 9 of the first 11 points for Sacramento. Like, he came out of the gate hot, kind of set that tone. Zach LaVine picked it up and ran with it, and the rest of the Sacramento Kings followed suit. But Zach was awesomely efficient in this game, right? One of those type of games where it's like, okay, to expect that kind of efficiency every single night, that's a lot to ask. But the majority of nights, if that's who Zach can be, or a version of that is who Zach can be for the Sacramento Kings, that's what the Kings are willing to pay almost $50 million a year for. That's what Kings fans can get behind. But what we saw tonight from Zach has not been what we're seeing. And hopefully that can be more consistent. We can see more of that over the final 9 games of the season to give us a better feeling going into an offseason where I expect Zach LaVine to remain a King just because of his contract and his situation. Like, I look at Zach LaVine as a Sacramento King for the next 2 years. I don't see too many scenarios where that's just not the case. So whether or not you want Zach LaVine on the team or not, it's in everybody's best interest to see Zach play well and play efficient over the final 9 games of this regular season. Then there's DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan had 21 points on 10 shots. He was 9 of 11 from the free throw line. Like, that is brilliant. And we have not seen this efficient shooting from DeMar over this homestand, right? He's been scoring he's been taking too many shots and not scoring enough points on too many shot attempts. This was DeMar DeRozan that now everybody shot the ball well. DeMar was 6 of 10 from the field. Keegan 7 of 11. Domas 9 of 11. Levine 13 of 18. Like I said, Malik 6 of 9. Like everybody shot the ball well. Jonas Valanciunas 2 of 3. Everybody shot the ball well from the field. But this was DeMar DeRozan that still got his looks, did a fantastic job of drawing fouls like we know only DeMar DeRozan can do. And what DeMar has been doing really well over this homestand that I have not given him enough credit for, he's been distributing the basketball well. He had 10 assists in this game. It's the second time in 3 games he's had 10 assists. He has 26 assists over the last 3 games. And actually, I'm going to bring up the DeMar DeRozan game log so you get an understanding of just what his assist numbers have been in the month of March. 10 assists tonight, 6 assists versus OKC, 10 assists versus Boston, 4 versus Milwaukee, number could be higher, 5 versus Chicago, that number could be higher, 4 versus Cleveland, that number could be higher, 8 versus Memphis, 7 versus Golden State, 9 versus San Antonio, that's rebounds, 10 versus the Clippers, 7 versus San Antonio. I mean, DeMar has been doing a pretty good job this month distributing the basketball. In fact, he's averaging 5.9 assists this month compared to 4.8 last month, 2.9 the month before. Like DeMar has been doing a good job of moving the basketball, sharing the basketball. Now, if he's sharing the basketball but shooting super efficiently and still taking the most or second most shots on the team, it kind of cancels each other out, which is probably why I didn't talk about his assist numbers as much. But in a game like this, as hard as a lot of us have been on DeMar DeRozan, this is one of those games where you look at DeMar and you just go, yes, like this is what I envisioned when the Kings went out and got DeMar DeRozan. Not that DeMar was ever going to completely change who he was to become a guy that fit into what the Sacramento Kings did. And I think maybe myself and a lot of us expected a little too much of that when he joined the Sacramento Kings. DeMar was never going to drastically change who he was to fit the Kings at 35, 36 years old as a future Hall of Famer. But what we saw from DeMar in this game was he exploited his strengths. He still got good looks. He converted those good looks, and he got his teammates involved. Like, this is pretty close to a perfect version of DeMar DeRozan. The only thing that would have made it better is had this game been close, and then DeMar put this game away for the Kings with a couple of big buckets in the fourth quarter. That's the closest. Like, that's how you get a perfect DeMar DeRozan performance. This was pretty darn close to it. Then you have Domantas Sabonis, who had a monster double-double. I'll talk about that. We'll talk about where the Sacramento Kings are in the standings at this point. They're about to start their final road trip of the season. We'll look ahead to that a little bit. Plus, I know this is Locked On Kings. I know this is an NBA podcast, but it was opening day of baseball season. Got to talk about that a little bit too. That's all still to come here on Locked On Kings. This was the first game in a while that Domantas Sabonis really looked like himself. In fact, I wasn't aware of this until James Ham, he and I were sitting next to each other in the media section tonight watching the game, and James actually looked it up. Like, it's been since February, like February 24th. That was the last time Domantas Sabonis hit a 3. Like, he hit a 3 for the first time in over a month tonight, which is pretty crazy. Not that that's totally Domantas Sabonis' game, but it was good to see him knock down a 3. But this was Domantas Sabonis getting back to those monster double-double numbers that we certainly got used to, especially last season, right? Domas been battling back from that ankle injury. I mean, I've been watching him. He does not look like it's bothering him. And if it is, he's doing a phenomenal job masking it. We already know how much of a tough SOB that man is. But he looked just dominating in this game. Now, the Portland Trailblazers aren't exactly stocked in the big man department, especially with DeAndre Ayton out right now. Jeremy Grant was also out for the Trailblazers in this game. So the Blazers weren't completely at full strength, but the Kings should have beat him regardless. And Domas recognized the weakness and he attacked it. Now, he only took 11 shots. I just, for the amount of money that he's being paid, but even beyond that, for as good of a scorer and as efficient as a scorer as Domantas Sabonis has been and continues to be, I want Domantas Sabonis to shoot the ball more. But he scored 22 points on 11 shots. Like I said, knocked down a 3, then grabbed 19 rebounds. Also dished out 6 assists. He had almost a double-double at halftime. He had like 8 points, 10 rebounds at halftime. Did turn the ball over 6 times. we got to work on that. The Kings turned the ball over 20 times in this game, 21 actually, compared to the Blazers 12. So that absolutely needs to be cleaned up and should be cleaned up. Thankfully, the Blazers didn't. I mean, they exploited it for 21 points, but the Kings were shooting the ball so well that didn't end up coming back to hurt the Kings. But that's not something that the Kings can just ignore. Domas has to clean up those turnovers. But this felt like that's Domantas Sabonis. Oh, that looks familiar. There's that dominant Domantas Sabonis that we know and love here in Sacramento. That was nice to see. I mean, a lot of positives from this game, right? A lot of positives. Does it change the fact that the Kings went 3-4 during this homestand? No. The Chicago Bulls have been on an absolute roll, so I guess it makes all of us feel a little bit better that the Kings lost to the Bulls in Sacramento. But, I mean, that Bulls loss was the difference between the Kings making this a positive homestand or not. That stings, right? The Bulls just beat on a half-court buzzer beater by Josh Giddey. They beat the LA Lakers tonight with LeBron James and Luka Doncic playing. So the Bulls are playing super, super well right now. But, I mean, that loss, that game still stings. But this was a nice way to end the road trip. Again, under Doug Christie, the Sacramento Kings have done a phenomenal job at beating the teams that they're supposed to beat. I know that the Bulls game is the exception to the rule there. But every team that's not been playing well, that he's either come through Sacramento or Sacramento's gone through their building, the Kings have pretty much dominated those games in the Doug Christie era. I'm glad to see them get back to that. I'm glad to see them do that again because Kings' schedule is getting easier by terms of they're not playing teams like the Thunder, the Celtics, and the Bucks and the Cavaliers 4 out of 5 games. But this road trip is no pushover, right? The Kings stay in 9th place with this win. They are still a half game above 10th, which is now owned by the Dallas Mavericks, and they're a full game above the Phoenix Suns in 11th, the dreaded 11th spot falling out of the play-in. Now remember, the Kings will still play the Suns final day of the regular season, Sunday, April 13th. That game could be massive, even with it being the last day of the season. We'll have to wait and see. But before that, Kings have to go on a 6-game road trip. Starts in Orlando on Saturday, a Magic team that is a tough matchup for the Kings. The Mavericks just beat them tonight, so they're definitely not unbeatable. They definitely can be vulnerable, but they have a lot of size, a lot of length, a lot of athleticism. It's going to take a pretty darn good Kings performance to beat them. Then the Kings are in Indiana taking on the Pacers on Monday, March 31st, a game that only half of Sacramento will be paying attention to because that's the home opener for the A's here at Sutter Health Park. I'll talk about the A's more in just a second. 2 games of the Kings just have to win. At Washington, at Charlotte on Wednesday and Friday of next week. Then at Cleveland, the Cavs probably looking for revenge, although who knows? The Cavs are so... I mean, I think the Cavs are pretty much locked into that number 1 seed. Maybe not. Maybe Boston is flirting with catching them a little bit. But the Cavs, who knows if they're going to rest guys on that game or not. Detroit, to wrap up the road trip, Detroit has already beaten you. They're a really good team right now. They have a lot to play for as well. So that's the 6-game road trip. Find a way. I mean, like I always say with road trips, 500 is the goal. A game over 500 is the... Sorry, 500 is the expectation. A game above 500 is the goal. Anything on top of that is really, really good. So if the Kings can find a way to go 4-2, that is the goal. 500, the bare minimum expectation. And I'll be honest with you, if the Kings come home and only win like 2 of these 6 games on the road, they might be coming home in that 11th spot. Dallas is playing well right now, and they're getting a little more healthy. And the Phoenix Suns have the talent that the Phoenix Suns have. So we'll be paying close attention to that, of course. My baseball fans, if you're a Giants fan, I know you're happy today. How about Wilmer Flores with that massive home run that he hit in Cincinnati to help the Giants beat the Reds on opening day? So congratulations to the Giants. I'm excited that baseball is back. Of course, in Sacramento, we have extra excitement with the A's being in town, and the A's opened up their season in Seattle, taking on the Mariners. Tyler Soderstrom, Turlock's own Tyler Soderstrom, hit a pair of home runs in the game, and that was it. Like, he was the only scoring that the A's did. We did see Luis Severino make his debut for the A's. He was really solid. 6 strikeouts through 6 full innings without giving up a run. And then his bullpen let him down. A's gave up 2 home runs in the bottom of the 8th inning, and that was it. So hopefully the A's can bounce back in their second game against the Mariners here before, and hopefully win that Mariners series before coming home to play the Cubs here in Sacramento early next week in games that might actually be rained out, which, well, not rained out, but there will be rain, which is a bummer. A bummer that opening weekend in Sacramento is going to be ruined by Mother Nature. Curse you, Mother Nature. But I'm glad the Sacramento Kings were able to end this homestand on a positive note. We'll see how this road trip goes. Of course, I'll be back on Saturday for a post-game podcast after hopefully a Kings win in Orlando, but we'll have to wait and see. I want to hear your thoughts on this Kings game tonight, your thoughts on Malik Monk going back to the bench. You like that move? Don't like that move? Let me know. Hit me up at MattGeorgeSack on Twitter. Email me, mattgeorgesports@gmail.com. Leave your thoughts in the YouTube comment section down below. Appreciate your support as always. Can't wait to have you join me on the next episode of Locked On Kings. Until then, my name is Matt George. You've been listening to the Locked On Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.